Today we will learn how to remove dye stains using a product called YellowGo. YellowGo is a dye stripper. It has a titanium sulfonate in it, and it's actually the last resort for removing residual stains like ink. So it's a residual stain remover, but it's also a savior when you have a dye problem, like if you have red socks in a washer and everything goes pink. So in this case, this is the YellowGo. The chemical is a concentrate. So when we first begin to use the chemical, most of the time we're going to be using it on white garments. 90% of the time you'll be using it on white garments. But today there's also going to be showing you how to use it on some colored garments. And it is possible, but it takes a little practice. And I will explain that as we go. When we use YellowGo, we need to be able to decide how loose the fugitive dye is, and also if the colors that are base colors are strong enough to withstand the YellowGo. So the way we control the YellowGo is number one, through dilution, number two, through testing, number three, with heat. More heat makes it more aggressive, less heat makes it less aggressive. So cold water sometimes, if you don't want it to be so aggressive, and time. If you want a very short soak to make it less aggressive, or longer soaks will make it more aggressive. So in this case, we have a spotting bottle that's 95% full of just plain water. The number one rule is dilution. So we add about a little cap full of YellowGo. So we put the YellowGo in the spotting bottle, and the spotting bottle, you see, the chemical is black. Then we take the Rusco, which actually it's like a sour. The two chemicals like to work together. So you put the Rusco in until you get a greenish effect. When you put the Rusco in and you shake it, it turns from black to green. That's all the Rusco you need. You don't have to measure it. Just watch the color. So it goes from black to green. The Rusco does three different things. So YellowGo can be used on the spotting board, in a bucket, or in a washer. When you're using it like in a bucket, it helps you to see through to the bottom of the bucket so that it's less intimidating. There's not a lot of black solution. You can see right through. And when you're working with just the two chemicals together, it actually helps to boost the YellowGo production, so it works a little faster and aids in the flushing of the YellowGo. Let me put my lid on here. You should wear gloves when you're dealing with Rusco, and you should wear gloves when you're dealing with YellowGo as well. Now that I have my gloves on, I can test number one, the base color, and number two, I can test the strength of the dye. So I put it on one side and I lightly cook it so to get the steam going just a little bit. And I begin to cook the YellowGo, and I begin to see that in this case, the blue dye is releasing. So what we're looking at here is a very weak base color of blue. However, I have one option. I can neutralize the YellowGo here, and very often, not always, but very often, the color will return. So I'm going to take a little ammonia. Ammonia is highly alkali. YellowGo is acid. So we put the ammonia onto and you can see that the color has come back right away. So in this case, that little area that we did where the light blue color faded, we know now that we can strip this garment. We can take the dark blue color out, the other colors will fade, but as soon as we begin to neutralize it, those colors will come back. And I will show you that. So this is a little test kit. You can test the base color, and you can test the validity or the strength of your fugitive dye. If you have a little ink spot on a shirt, you take the ink out with any of your POGs. We have 3 POGs here. You can test to see which POG works better. We have Laundry Targo, Targo EF, and Inco. Get the basic part of the ink out of the shirt or the garment or the lab coat, and then as a final result, it's a final step, you use the Yellow Go to take out the residual stain. The residual stain is no longer ink, it's dye from the ink. So then you use the Yellow Go as a dye stripper. Now we are going to use a soak to take out residual dye. We know that there's too much dye in here to start using it on the spotting board. I could take this and start working it, but I work too hard. I don't want to use the spotting board when there's too much dye. I want to soak it. Likewise, if there's so much dye, I want to use it in the washer. And so there's 3 different ways you can use it. But in this case, we're going to show you how to use it in the bucket. This is just an example of a bucket. So we know that with white shirts, we don't have to worry about temperature, or we can get it as high as we want to. We can get it as concentrated as we want to, and it doesn't matter. It will work. But we know with color, we have to temper the garment with lighter temperatures and less time in soaking, and sometimes we have to neutralize it. So in this case, we're going to put, it's about 1 quart of water. I'm going to put a little bit of Yellow Go in. It's usually 1 ounce or 2 ounces per gallon. Then I'm also going to add my Rusco until we get that greenish color. And remember, the green color is all you need as a visual to let you know how much Rusco to put in there. Then I begin to stir it, and the green color shows up. Okay. So now we have our solution made, light green solution. We can take our colored garment, which we tested, and we put it in. And we'll also take the white garment and put it in to soak. And I also tested this before, but I have to be careful with this one because I have to work it very quickly. So I'll watch it as we go. Now, we have the soak going, and in this case, we know that we need to have a neutralizing solution ready to go. If you're doing a wash machine, if you're doing it in the wash machine, make sure the wash machine is ready with alkali soap, which will neutralize the Yellow Go as well. However, in this case, I'm going to use ammonia, and we're going to put the ammonia into the water. That's our neutralizing solution. So, the soaking sometimes can take 5 minutes, sometimes can take 10 minutes. Depends on how heavy the concentration of dye is. This has been soaking an extra 5 minutes, and we're taking out the red one. The red one has come out quite well, and you can see the original dye problem is in my left hand, and this is the corrected one. So I'm going to put it in my ammonia solution just to neutralize it, and we'll let it soak for a minute. The blue one has gone. We have lost almost completely the entire color, but as we talk, I'm going to put it in my neutralizing solution and wait to see what happens. The white one is a little more stubborn. This is an old pink stain. So when the stain is old, you need to leave it longer, or you need to start over and make the water a lot hotter. I'm going to leave it in here as we speak. Now I'm going to take out, after neutralizing, I'm going to take out the one with the pink dye, and you can see we had 100% success. We left the blue item in a little bit longer, and I want to show it to you because we're in the process of reclaiming it. You can see that the tan color has gone away, except in the double layer here. The double layer needs a little more neutralizing. So I need to put it back in and use a temperature of probably 120 degrees, 130 degrees. That would be optimum. But during our demonstration, our temperature has cooled down. So when it cools down, you need to leave it in longer. I'm going to put it back into soak. Also the white garment, which we needed to up the temperature a little bit because there was a very stubborn dye, it started to work. I'll take it out. And where it's almost done, it still needs to soak a little bit long. It still needs to soak a little bit longer. This is not quite white. It's a little bit pink. So I wanted to show you success, and I wanted to show you in progress and in progress. So I'll put this back in, and I'll take this back out again, see if that's any different, just as we spoke. And it's getting better as we speak because now the double layer on my left side is starting to come back as well. In summary, Yellow does not have a brain, so it doesn't know when to stop. If you have a colored garment, you have to control it. You control it through temperature, time, dilution. The temperature should range probably from 80 degrees to 150. If it's white garment, you can use it at maximum temperature. If it's a colored garment, you control it by the lesser temperatures. Yellow is used as a salvage product, so you don't have to pay a claim if you should have a color problem in your washer. Yellow is also used to take out residual ink stains. You can use it on the spotting board, in a bucket, as we just showed you right here. Yellow needs to be neutralized if you are using it with a colored garment. Sometimes with a colored garment, you lose complete dye, and so in that case, it doesn't work. 95% of the time, you'll be working with white, but sometimes with color, know that you can neutralize it with alkali solution. In this case, it's ammonia and the Yellow is acid, so they work opposite. And that is our small demonstration of Yellow. Thank you very much.